You can recite part of Highlander for everything, John.
No.
No, we'd like to undermine authority and bring a new order to the planet, a kind of usher in a new apocalypse. Because I think that mankind has completely overrun this planet with its filth and its decadence. I think it's time that people like us should be put in positions of power. Because it would be really fucked up then. But we would have the choice of how to rule the planet. That's the difference. Total world domination. That's our ambition.
Death to false metal.
And death to false metal at the same time.
The government should stop wasting money on fucking, biologically engineering diseases to wipe out mankind and fucking fund some decent metal bands to record.
Actually, there's a thought, hey. Anyway. What an enduring image.
Yeah.
Well, certainly you could see Danny in terms of, yes, a kind of Promethean spirit. In other words, he's, made the best of, what he has, and, made a career out of it. I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. He's used his strengths, his, love of literature and art and so forth, and, created the band. Obviously, the other members have impetus in, what the band writes, what the band looks like. But ultimately, I think magazines look to Danny because he's always, first and foremost, been a consistent member. But also, most of bands, it is the singer, being the vocalist, being the person who's writing the songs and speaking to the audience, as it were. They're the people that the magazines come to first.
It would be good to do a day in the life of Cradle of Filth. We've done various features in the band. One of them was at home with Danny Filth, having a look around his house, sort of getting his missus and the daughter in the shots. I think the main thing is with Cradle of Filth is that Danny has got such a vision for the band that it kind of translates into, you get him to liaise with a photographer and they come up with something, extraordinary for the feature. Danny's a very creative person. He's also a very good businessman. People seem to forget that it is actually the music business. You are here to make money. You're here for you're a product at the end of the day. I think Danny realises that better than everyone.
Always with a band, you're buying a package, whether you're consciously buying it or not. Certainly, it's true that you get some bands whereby you feel that the entirety of the package you're buying is rapping, and that there's no musical heart to it. I don't think that's true of Cradle of Filth. Perhaps in Cradle of Filth's case, there is, they set themselves a pretty high standard in the visual, a very arresting kind of visual aesthetic, which means that they're very attractive to magazine editors. And there's no two ways about the idea that Cradle of Filth established themselves by being quite astute about presenting themselves both live and in various visual material. Certainly, I wouldn't be surprised if they sell more t-shirts than they do albums. But I think whatever we buy, whether it's a newspaper, whether we're choosing which radio station to listen to, there's an element whereby you're buying a package which says something about you. And Cradle of Filth put together a very good package.
In terms of lineup changes and the pressures on bands, I think there are a lot of musicians out there who want to be in a band, who want to be up there on stage, but don't necessarily like doing the other things, the rigorous promotion that goes with doing an album, with doing a record. Because at the end of the day, you are a product and you have to sell your product. You can be as creative as you want, but you're a product. I think lineup changes are a natural part of a band's evolution. It's just unfortunate with some bands that it's the singer, but luckily for Cradle of Filth, Danny is the constant force in the band.
Very, very disturbing horror film, very graphic. The producer or the director of that, Alex Shandon, worked on our From the Cradle to Enslave video, and after we did that, we just thought collaboration was in order, hence the title Cradle of Fear. For the first 6 months, it's only available via the internet to buy, because obviously that avoids film classification in different territories, and it's a brutal film, very brutal indeed.
I think it's the thing we're getting at the moment is more kind of Hollywood actors turned singers. So it's quite nice to see a band that is obviously so Hammer horror influenced, putting something back into the scene. You know, Cradle of Filth is just a total gore fest.
What's your favourite song? My favourite song.
Through lineup and label changes, t-shirts to TV and tours, Cradle's dark power grows. The world is their stage.
Years ago, they would have looked at them like they were all lunatics, to be quite honest. And now I would find it extremely interesting to see what happens when the new album is released on a major label, because I'm not 100% convinced that they'll know what to do with this genre of music, it being so extreme in their eyes.
There's always a tension, there's always almost a contradiction that goes on with subcultures, the underground, whatever you want to call it. That tension being in some cases manifest in an inverse snobbery. So in the same way as a lot of people want to buy the same jeans that everybody else is wearing and listen to the same album that everyone else is listening to, people who go against this are in danger of sort of swinging in the opposite direction too far and only wanting an album that no one else has ever heard and only wanting to wear a frock that no one else will ever wear. And so this tension, this kind of idea that once you've sold a certain number of units within the music industry, you're a sellout regardless of whether you've changed your style or not. Cradle of Filth are a particularly prominent example because you have black metal, which very much was an underground and to a certain extent still is. And you have Cradle of Filth, who are enjoying, who some would say, and who am I to argue, are the most successful black metal band in the world. So obviously there's a contradiction there as far as these kind of inverse snobs are concerned. And certainly it lacks an appeal, particularly for a lot of the young fans of the underground stuff, is its unacceptability. You know, perhaps they're right, there's a contradiction between something which can be accepted by a label like Sony and is still as dangerous and rabid and subversive as the material they demand. So, you know, it's an insoluble question.
I think there are a lot of bands that are hungry to get out there. There's a lot of bands that will sign anything you put in front of them, and then you end up with a deal that you don't want or something that restricts you as an artist. I think that's happened to Cradle, and you know, hopefully with this deal with Sony, that they will be getting onto the platform of where they want to go with their career.
This is Danny from Cradle of Filth, and you are listening to, or watching... Right, okay, so Danny from Cradle of Filth, and you are watching